think that I'm going to try really hard not to do any bantering other than this thing up top, because it gets weird when I do that. Oops. Okay, but how do I make you go away? No, it's okay. I think that the thing you need to know about what I'm going to read right now is that it is a palinode, which means that it is a poem or a piece of writing that is retracting an argument from a prior piece of writing. In this case, I am issuing a retraction of an essay that I wrote about the 20th century poet, priest, lawyer, kind of all-around badass Pauli Murray, who has been the subject of sort of a resurgence lately. I think people have become very interested in Pauli's feminist jurisprudence, which sort of undergirded a lot of the sex discrimination law that Ruth Bader Ginsburg did. I think that Pauli is now on a quarter, which I think that they would feel complicated about. And also, part of the sort of recovery of Pauli Murray has been the recovery of a person who may have been a different time been trans. And yeah, I guess I turned 30 and I started looking around for dads, and Pauli emerged to me as one such dad. So, this is a top note. Begins with 2 epigraphs. The proximities of the archive disperse the feeling of otherwise being consumed by the present and its many emergencies. Jules Gill Peterson. Reading only with and for transsexuals, I read for my life. Jay Prosser. Palinode. Dear Pauli, I've been trying to write about you for some years now and have not been able. Well, other people might say I have been. I've given talks. There's an essay under contract, but I haven't been able yet to say what I mean. Lately, each thing I do is a form of the epistolary, apostrophe some particular impossible you. The problem is, of course, one of audience, address. I cannot have a single thought. From what I can tell, you didn't have that problem. You were, I think, able to hold something like a nation in your head. Still, it must have eventually driven you mad, from scene to scene, institution to institution, looking for felicitous language, the precise vocabulary, syntax for making clear what to you was always clear, that you were alive. Anyway, I've been having trouble lately. The sentences either do not come or lie flat or say only what is obvious to say. Life hangs beneath a question. Dear Pauli, am I right to say that for you, the poet was at best a kind of prophet? Not a fortune teller, but in the biblical tradition, someone who could sense the future looming in the present, who issues the warning, if we do not change our course, we will be and thus are already doomed. Dear Pauli, in interviews, you say that writing was what enabled you to bear your life beneath the question. It was what you did, that is, when no other action was possible, a little valve for when the pressure built. Anger, otherwise, would kill you. When asked, at 67, at the edge of your 4th, 5th career, if you would ever let yourself rest, you said, in short, I'd be dead if I did. In the essay, the one under contract, the one I am already ashamed of, I make arguments, or try to. First, I argue that you understood yourself as living somehow in the future. Ahead of myself is how you put it once, 21 years ahead. Second, I argue that this is a trans way of occupying time, living out the future in the present tense, embodying for others, for yourself, Ernst Bloch's not yet. It's easy to idealize, being imbued with the sheen of futurity, endless becoming, longing that propels us, etc. But it's terrible, Or it is also terrible. People take up all kinds of postures toward the future. Hope is one. Dread. idealized fear. I write, if all goes well, to find out what I do not know. Dear Pauli, before the war, you had been in love. Not just, that is, experiencing the feeling of love, but held inside of it. Held and then no longer held because love could not see you as you were, a man you tried for over a decade to become. Sex was a scene of your impossibility. People interpret this in all kinds of ways. False consciousness, schizophrenia, ego dystonic lesbianism, transsexuality, the disease of reading, and sure, me too. In a prior scene, I am 13. I've just finished a novel, Middlesex. I am crouching on the blue carpet in my blue room. I am straining to sense how I might too have secreted inside the capacity to change. Dear Pauli, about you, it was once reported that your errands were carefully planned so that you could travel in a circle, not wasting time. In the essay, I argue that although by the late 1960s or so, you had fallen out of the future, taken up residence in the past-present tense, come to feel history more and more as a series of closed loops, we can sense, nonetheless, in your poems, your photographs, your strained sentences, your trans life preserved in the aesthetic, your still latent futures given form. Dear Pauli, in 2011, in California, I rode my bicycle for miles to the office of a doctor whose name I do not any longer know. He gave me what you nearly a century ago had wanted with a kind of fervor I can never muster. I'm not saying it was easy. There have been psychologists and letters and prior attempts and protracted conflict and years and furtive transit and paperwork and endless, deadening talks, but it was possible. Dear Pauli, I encounter a thought that breaks a little more my heart. You say, finally, that race and sex are biologically permanent. You grow from a child to an adult, an alien may become a citizen, and so on, but where you have a permanent characteristic, it is on the basis of one's birth that one becomes a member of that caste. It is completely imposed upon one, and there is no way that one can escape. I don't know when this thought, the finality of it, seized you. Was it your admiration of Mary Daly, her writing, her beautiful tan? Was it that you could no longer bear hope's disappointment? Was it that you were, in some important way, already dead? All I know is that, by the end of your life, having discovered no other way, you had become convinced that race, that sex, were closed forms. Pauli, listen, they aren't. It isn't. Dear Pauli, if you were alive now, I suspect I wouldn't so admire you. Lawyer, priest, National Organization of Women acquainted with the president's wife. But because you are dead, I do. Of course, if you were alive now, you wouldn't be in every important way you. I spend my whole life trying to convince my students of this. Our categories have histories, I say, gesturing wildly with my little nub of chalk. There, at work, I use words like contingency, discursive formations, rupture, and yet. Today, walking with F around our Massachusetts town, I insist, as always, on a circular route. Coffee, then groceries, then flowers, for its tender efficiency. Oh, Pauli, how can I help it? The first, the beautiful thought. You. Dear Pauli, I have been wasting time. Doom is, among other things, why I'm here, trying to speak to you. Dear Pauli, I guess the truth is that I am not brave, do not want to be brave. I want my classes, my students, my domestic poems. I want to move in small circles. I want 20 minutes in the morning, the blue couch, my blue room. Dear Pauli, across the country, across the Senates and House chambers and governors' desks and Twitter feeds and liberal papers, someday is busy legislating sex, race, the people, the human, etc. as closed forms. They are busy, that is, making life impossible always in the name of life. I can offer endless, impersonal explanations, but I feel it first as numb hand, clenched thought, bird in the throat. What was it you said? Race is the atmosphere we breathe from day to day, the pervasive irritant, the chronic allergy, the vague apprehension that makes one, uncomfortable, jumpy. Dear Pauli, even now, I can't say what I mean. Dear Pauli, I am writing to you because I cannot write. Everywhere there's language, enumerations of the problem, diagnoses the problem beginning as far back as I can imagine, farther still. In class, I pace with my chalk. I circle the room, the words, e.g. neoliberalism, biopolitics, coloniality, modernity, the nuclear family form, and so on. Draw desperate, crooked lines. I say and say and say, and what for? Increasingly, I think there's only one word that might matter. No. Dear Pauli, the more I look at you, the more I am overcome with an eerie feeling, a visceral mere identification that seems against my better judgment that it might rescue me. I have become frankly fixated on this image of you. You who were prolific amidst Jim Crow, the fascist American mid-century, the Great Depression, your endless dislocation in pursuit of meaningful work, the atmosphere of anti-blackness, the deathly race-gender politics of the university, your loneliness, your unruly mind, the thwarting of your trans desire during a tipping point when sex change was heralded as newly possible, fixated on the question simply of how you thought under these conditions, how you endured the present tense. Dear Pauli, no. No, 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 no. Dear Pauli, I am standing before a crowd of people I admire, talking incoherently about you, my pursuit of you. What everyone will remember is that I am lonely, or that I have formal questions about loneliness, about whether it is a feeling that produces continuity, a desire for continuity where there might more ethically be rupture. All day, they come up to me to report that they like what I said about loneliness, which makes me suspicious. Am I lonely? Am I lonely? My days are crowded with other people. Dear Pauli, I look for as long as I can stand at one particular image of you. You as young man, you as Pete, you as self-proclaimed vagabond in a leather coat. I go tender for this image. You are a young little brother, so young. This is before Bellevue and the rest home, before the arrests and the intake forms and your desperate lines, before you spread beneath the knife in search of hidden organs, before the first end of love, before you are refused and refused and refused and made, I can't help but think, into the bravest thing, black girl, black woman. Once, after a talk, someone asked if I thought the name, your name, Pete, was a biblical reference. Peter, Paul, etc. Honestly, it hadn't occurred to me. Dear Pauli, as far as I know, there is no tense, not in English, to describe the shape of time that you help me see. The was, will be, the salted circle, the still not yet. Dear Pauli, your name for her, your first great love, was Pan, Pete and Pan, the boy who would not grow up, the boy who returns and returns to the same house, the same window, though nothing ever is the same. Pauli, the truth is, after all this time, I want him simply to have lived. I think this means, shamefully, inconceivably, I want to live, to have lived. And though no word was uttered above the tumult of advancing tide, you came uncalled and placed your hand in mine.